AJ Mahara here. And this video is going to be about the borderline ad hominem attack as an avoidance of personal responsibility, an avoidance of the topic, the issues at hand, the struggle, what's trying to be communicated to them, what they refuse or are unable to respond to. And I have an example of this that I'll illustrate in this video from a commenter online with borderline personality disorder. So in your personal life, have you recognized that when you bring up an idea, a boundary, anything to a person with BPD in your life, that they will discount what you're saying immediately because they are more focused on your alleged motivation, kind of like a red herring argument right there, to protect themselves, right? And to not have to respond to what you're saying. So they will look at the alleged motivation, which can be an impulsive misinterpretation, or it can be calculatingly intellectual on the part of people with BPD. So they do this without addressing or responding to the actual merits of what you're trying to say, put forward, discuss the issues at hand, so to speak. I think this video is illustrative of that from a commenter with BPD online to me today on a video, and I hope this is helpful for you. So that was a comment that was left. Now, I've changed the initial and I'm not naming the person. But as you can read, the comment says, as someone with BPD, I can safely say your statements that people with my condition can't love and that with us you are out of sight, out of mind are fallacious. The Raven paradox strikes again. What this is a great example, somebody with borderline personality disorder, with an ad hominem attack, wherein they're projecting out, even in this more intellectual or more non-emotional or trying to seem non-emotional way, of definitely dismissing what you said, or in this case, what I said. This person is projecting out onto me that my statements that borderlines can't love, and I've always said maybe not all, but many, most, until unless certain amount of recovery, right? Can't love, no healthy adult, consistent, congruent love, to be specific. And that I've always said that for many people with BPD, that once a breakup happens, they leave or you leave, or they split, they devalue you. When they aren't interacting with you, or it's over, or you're not sure if it's really over, the point is then the borderline is often in a triggered, childlike place of out of sight, out of mind. So I stand by those things that I've been talking about for a long time here. I stand by them 100%. But this is an ad hominem attack by somebody with borderline personality disorder against me in this case. Why? Because they really don't want to talk about why they might believe this, or what makes them feel this way, or where this is coming from at all, or there's nothing substantive, is there? There's just this ad hominem attack wherein something is stated and allegations are made. So in other words, projected out onto me is that what I've said is fallacious, which, fallacious means it is a mistaken belief. Your argument, if you get an ad hominem attack from the person with BPD in your life, as it's being said here to me, that it's fallacious, okay? They may not use this terminology, but ad hominem attacks come in all different various ways. But if it's said to be fallacious, what this person believes probably what I said, in a more emotional way even, than is conveyed here. It's fallacious. It's from based on a mistaken belief. More to the point, a fallacious argument, it could be said. One might be intimating, this commenter may have been intimating that I was making an argument that was not only a mistake in belief, but that it was meant to be deceptive by appearing somehow better than it is. So a lot in that one word right there, okay? And then to the Raven's paradox. The Raven's paradox involves two possibilities here. Point one and point two together entail the unintuitive conclusion that the claims of form, any claims being made, like in this case, for me, I said, most people with BPD can't love, and they have this out of sight, out of mind, childlike reality that of misinterpretation of here and now situations and events. So you take those two things there, and this person is trying to communicate with this ad hominem attack that the Raven's paradox found here, they believe, is that I'm making an unintuitive conclusion that claims that because I said these two things, that together these two things I've said could be taken as an unintuitive conclusion, which more to the point then would also be a part of a paradox arising from the question of what constitutes evidence of the statement. With this then, what this person was doing in this ad hominem attack toward me in this comment, based on the video I did, basically they were coming to an irrelevant conclusion. But they're saying I came to an irrelevant conclusion, projecting that out. And an irrelevant conclusion is really just another way of saying missing the point, or a way of presenting an argument without taking any personal responsibility for how they have interrupted, for how and why they have interrupted the communication to effectively take you and what you were trying to talk about with them hostage, switch up the game, twist it all around, confuse you, and right fight some more. In what is conscious, or even some level of subconscious obfuscation to their ended needed conclusion of having it all go away, thinking that it isn't all going to come back again. In other words, it fails in a broad class of relevance fallacies. This is an example of someone with BPD who seems to be really proud of having BPD, because they said, as someone with BPD, I can safely say your statements, and then it goes on to identify them, are fallacious. The Raven paradox strikes again. Well, there's probably a lot of black and white thinking involved with this, because the thinking here is probably that they think they're all right and I'm all wrong, and I'm not getting into that. This is the right fighting in borderline personality disorder. It's not always the acting out, raging presentation. It's not always a tremendously impulsively triggered, emotional, dysregulated kind of response. It's not always just a silent treatment of the borderline. It can be this very turning around in what is a very, they have strong intellect, people with BPD usually, even if they are still emotionally very young, depending if they've had therapy or treatment or not. But I'm speaking to people who definitely haven't engaged therapy or pretty much in the active throes of BPD here, just to be clear on what these distinctions are, and that I do give distinctions, and that by doing that, it's not like and this is a person also making a very fallacious argument and somewhat creating a Raven paradox, although I don't believe what I said really creates that. But they're projecting up, they're trying to create that illusion of the Raven paradox, saying I forwarded that by basically taking two comments. I don't know if I made them in the same video in this case, but two comments that I don't always make together. Therefore, they're not a Raven's paradox in the nature that they don't always, one doesn't follow the other, and they're not put across together. So this is a great illustration of an ad hominem attack, where in this case, it was something I said about BP in a video, or maybe more than one. I'm not sure if I said both those things in the one video. I may well have, for making different points. But anyway, so this person saying they can safely say this because they have BPD, so they feel pretty proud of that, it sounds like, right? Okay, I'm not saying anybody with BPD should feel ashamed of it, but proud of it? I think the goal is to recover from it. When I make these statements and what I put across, as most people know, is because I had borderline personality disorder and I recovered in 1995. So I haven't lived like, haven't thought like, I haven't anything like what I used to when I had BPD before I recovered. So, and before I was in that recovery process where all that was changing. But the point I'm trying to make here is this is a very seemingly clever, it's right fighting, and it's I think designed, the hope, or perhaps subconsciously, is designed that I'm going to get really annoyed by that, or really angry, or somehow feel, I don't know, intimidated, or like I did something wrong or bad or God knows what, right? In this example of an ad hominem attack, what's really happening, never mind the situation here, which is just a great illustration, what's really happening is that the person with BPD, so if they're in your life and you're like, we really have to talk about finances, or we really have to talk about why this isn't working out, or we have to talk about, name it, we have to talk about fill in the blank, or I really want to talk to you about blank. Remember when I said blank? You know how before we talked about and blank? And they're going to just ad hominem attack you. They're going to turn around, maybe somewhat emotionally, maybe not as emotional, maybe ragey, maybe quiet, maybe after sign, but they're going to, this is really the borderline version of gaslighting. It's ad hominem attacking. And what they're going to do is turn around and be, like I said earlier, be more focused on their misperception, the red herring idea of like, well, it's a Raven's paradox, and they probably won't use these words, right? But so like to whatever you said, they're just going to say, well, that's not true because, or I don't, you said, but I know I didn't, and a lot of denials. But the other thing is that they're right fighting with you. So whatever it is, however they say it, they're just, whether it's loud and ragey and all emotional, or cold and or calm and rational, or very quietly said, they're going to just say back to you, well, I don't think that makes any, I don't understand why you're trying to tell me now that I'm supposed to do this because you have a bound. What about me? You're not understanding me. Well, this feels totally invalidating. Why should I listen to you? These are all kind of, maybe not as precise an ad hominem attack as I received today, but it's an invitation to right fight. It's a muddying the waters. It's setting up the red herring, whereby, after a time of their speaking and not hearing what you said, and you're like, what are you talking about? So I could have said this to this comment too. I was like, I read it and I'm like, what are they talking about? Because it doesn't have anything to do with what I actually said in my video. So there's another reason. Here's another way you can recognize the ad hominem attack in response to whatever you're saying, is because they won't expound on the topic. They won't talk about what you're talking about. They won't even come back and say, well, because you said blank, I feel this way, or I think this, or I feel I take it this way. Why did you do blank to me? No, they'll just, the whole idea of an ad hominem attack is to come at you with something different and get off the topic, away from the subject matter that you're trying to bring up. The borderline ad hominem attack, right here illustrated for you. It is, I think, akin to, with people with BPD, what narcissists do in gaslighting. It gives you, it gives you that mind fog, that like, I was just talking about, and then, like maybe 2 hours go by, or this argument ensues and it's just grown into this other thing. And you'll find yourself saying, the borderline will recover much more quickly, or storm off, or go give you the silent treatment for a bit. And you'll be like, what happened here? I mean, I've had clients tell me, like, after these kind of situations, they're like saying, well, I know I had a point. I don't remember what it was right now. I don't know what I was trying to say. And then maybe they'll have some vague idea. They'll be like, I think I was trying to tell him or her, this and then I had a boundary, and then I don't know. And then the next thing, we were arguing about something totally different. I don't even know what happened. And now they never said what I know they said back to me, because we didn't talk about what I needed to talk about. Yeah. The borderline ad hominem attack is not specific to borderlines, but the way that borderlines can use it, because a lot of people with BPD, not all, are very intelligent to make up for that lack of emotional intelligence, right? Less until they get enough treatment, get on that road, far down that road to recovery, making a life worth living, if not getting to full recovery. But certainly getting beyond, beyond this kind of stuff and all the other kinds of things that they'll pull that are defensive and sometimes can be somewhat dissociative, but they're also kind of calculated after a while. They're patterned, they're habituated. They often come from the subconscious, but they can be purposefully done too. And I think that the borderline ad hominem attack, which is designed to skirt all around whatever the topic, the issue, the discussion is about, whatever the subject matter is, and fly at you with something else and confuse all. It's the ad hominem attack is the borderline equivalent of narcissistic gaslighting. And so, can people who don't have borderline personality disorder launch ad hominem attacks? Absolutely. And they're kind of trying to do the same thing with a very different motivation. So I hope that you found that helpful. And I changed the letter up there, so that's not actually the person's name that came with the comment. So I'll just put it back up for you to see once more. And I hope that was really helpful. And take care now.